Well, every year, Greater Lafayette Commerce makes a trip to Washington, D.C., but that does not mean every year is the same or even that every mission is the same.
Of course, the meetings with both Indiana senators and the 4th District representative are required, but as News 18's Dan Klein reports, there's a lot more that goes on.
The trip ended Friday near where it began Wednesday, in sight of the White House. The Lafayette delegation met with U.S. Ignite, a nonprofit with federal government backing which looks to shape the future of super high-speed internet by creating internet applications in areas like healthcare and transportation that will have great public benefit. Lafayette is one of 32 cities across the country which has joined the U.S. Ignite network.
It's very technological. It's a little hard. It's been hard for all of us to grasp the implications of all of it, and I think for them to hear directly from the people that are creating this vision here in Washington was really important for the community.
Good morning, Senator. Good to see you again.
Good morning, everybody.
It follows a day spent meeting with the area's representatives in Congress, Senators Joe Donnelly and Dan Coates, and Representative Todd Rokita. As News 18 has already reported, perhaps the two top items for discussion are immigration reform, especially to allow international Purdue students studying on a student visa to be more easily able to get a work visa after graduation so their education can be put to work in America, and transportation, finding more money to aid declining gas tax revenues to replace aging infrastructure.
That seems to be a little bit more of a struggle, but I think the conversation, the dialogue is good.
For many who come on this trip, it's not just politics and politicians, it's business too. Some meet with their lobbyists who lobby for them here on Capitol Hill, and both mayors met with the Amtrak president to talk about the Hoosier State Line.
Convey the seriousness of this needs to get better, and it needs to get better quickly to the top decision makers within an organization is a big deal. And so, meetings like that are very important to help move certain things forward.
The hope is that this trip does just that, helping move things forward politically too, helping in part by these meetings, as well as the roughly 40 other members of the delegation listening in and occasionally speaking up.
Well, the fact of the matter is that it's most important when they see not just the individual elected officials that's having sort of an insider baseball conversation with them, but for them to know that not only are we representing our communities, but we are bringing some of the leadership of our communities here to validate that representation.
Sometimes you may only get one thing out of a certain meeting, or there may be one idea that nobody thought about that came up. If you're hearing this, or this from your staff members, this is where we're at, and I think having those, sit down, man-to-man, face-to-face conversations are important.
Conversations that area political and business leaders hope turn to real legislation, though there are doubts that in an election year in the current political climate that can happen, which is why later this year, planning for the 2015 trip will begin. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Dan Klein, News 18.